Welcome to Classic Storytime Hub. Tonight, we descend into shadows with The Tomb by H.P. Lovecraft. This is not the tale as it was first written, but a reimagined narration in English, crafted anew to grip your imagination and haunt your dreams. As I recount the strange path that led me into this asylum for the so-called mad, I know my words will be met with doubt. Most men cannot see beyond the narrow limits of their own experience. They dismiss the rare visions granted to the few, those fleeting glimpses that blur the line between reality and illusion, as nothing more than madness. Yet the truth is far more unsettling. The world we perceive is shaped by fragile senses, and sometimes those senses reveal what lies behind the veil. My name is Jervas Dudley. Since childhood, I have lived apart from the ordinary world. Born into wealth, I had no need for commerce, nor did I care for the shallow diversions of society. Instead, I wandered through forgotten books and shadowed groves near my ancestral home. What I discovered there was not what other boys saw. But I will not dwell on such details, for the whispers of my attendants already brand me insane. I was never truly alone. Those who lack the company of the living inevitably find companionship among things long dead, or things that never lived at all. Near my home lies a hollow, a twilight valley where moss clings to the earth and twisted oaks stretch like ancient guardians. It was there I spent my days, reading, dreaming, and watching the moonlight dance upon the branches. Yet all of this pales beside the secret I must reveal, the tomb. Hidden deep within the thickets of the hillside, it waits, the forsaken resting place of the Hyde family, whose last descendant was laid to rest long before I was born. The vault I speak of was carved from ancient granite, its surface scarred and stained by centuries of mist and decay. Dug deep into the hillside, only its entrance betrayed its existence, a grim portal of stone, hanging crookedly on rusted iron hinges. Heavy chains and padlocks clung to it like sinister guardians, relics of a darker age. Long ago, a mansion had stood proudly above this slope, home to the Hyde family. But lightning struck one storm-filled midnight, and fire consumed the estate. The villagers still whisper of that night, calling it divine punishment, their voices hushed, as though the flames still smolder in memory. Only one life was claimed in the inferno. Yet the family fled, leaving behind ashes that were later interred in this shadowed tomb. No flowers ever grace its threshold, and few dare to linger near the stones, where the air itself seems heavy with sorrow. I was 10 years old the day I first stumbled upon this hidden house of death. It was midsummer, when the forest transforms into a sea of green, overwhelming the senses with its damp fragrance and dizzying abundance. In such moments, time dissolves, and the mind drifts into echoes of forgotten ages. I had wandered all day through the hollow's enchanted groves, lost in thoughts I dare not reveal, speaking to companions I cannot name. And then, pushing through a cruel tangle of briars, I found it, the entrance to the vault. I did not yet understand what I had uncovered, but the sight of that shadowed doorway marked me forever. The granite blocks loomed dark and ancient, the door hanging strangely ajar beneath carvings that whispered of forgotten rites. Yet
They carried no weight of sorrow or dread. Though I had read much of graves and tombs, my peculiar nature had kept me far from the chill of cemeteries. This stone dwelling on the forested slope was not a place of death in my eyes, but a mystery begging to be unraveled. Its damp interior, glimpsed through the narrow opening, revealed no decay, only silence. But in that moment of curiosity, something awoke within me, a wild, unreasoning desire that would one day lead me to this prison of madness. It was as if the forest itself whispered, urging me onward. I rattled the chains, desperate to fling the door wide, even tried to force my small frame through the gap, but the vault resisted me. Curiosity gave way to frenzy, and by twilight I swore to the unseen gods of the grove that I would return, that I would break through those barriers and descend into the cold, beckoning dark. The physician with the iron-gray beard calls this the birth of my obsession, a monomania that doomed me. Perhaps he is right, yet I leave judgment to you, my readers, once you know all. For months I struggled with the padlock, my hands raw from futile attempts, while secretly gathering whispers of the tomb's history. I spoke to no one of my resolve, and when I learned the vault's true nature, I felt no fear. My strange ideas of life and death had long blurred the line between clay and flesh, and I believed the Hyde family, consumed by fire yet bound to this place, still lingered within those stone depths I longed to enter. Whispers of blasphemous rites and unholy revels from centuries past only deepened my fascination with the tomb. Day after day I lingered before its chained door, staring into the shadows as though they might reveal their secrets. Once I dared to push a candle through the narrow opening, but its flame revealed nothing, only a damp stairway descending into darkness. The air that drifted out was foul, yet strangely alluring, as if I had breathed it before in some forgotten existence beyond memory, beyond even this body I now inhabit.
A year after first discovering the vault, I unearthed a decaying translation of Plutarch's Lives in the attic of my home. The tale of Theseus struck me deeply, how the young hero was destined to find his tokens beneath a massive stone, but only when he had grown strong enough to lift it. That legend tempered my impatience. I told myself that fate demanded I wait, that one day I would possess the strength and cunning to break the chains and claim what lay within. Until then, I would bide my time. My vigils at the tomb grew less frequent, replaced by other strange pursuits. Often I crept from my home in the dead of night, wandering through graveyards my parents had forbidden me to enter. What I did there I cannot say, for even now I doubt the reality of those nocturnal visions. Yet each morning after such wanderings, I astonished those around me with knowledge of things long forgotten. One night's ramble left me with a chilling revelation. I declared that Squire Brewster, buried in 1711 beneath a crumbling stone marked with skull and crossbones, had not rested quietly. I swore that the undertaker had stolen his fine clothes before burial, and worse, that the squire himself had stirred twice within his coffin the day after he was laid to rest. The thought of entering the tomb never left me. It grew stronger when I uncovered a startling truth that my own bloodline carried a faint connection to the Hydes, that cursed family thought long extinct. I was the last of my paternal race, and now I felt myself the heir to this older, darker lineage. The vault was mine, I told myself, and I longed for the day when I would descend its slimy steps into the waiting dark.
Night after night, I pressed my ear to the chained door, listening in the silence of midnight. By the time I reached manhood, I had cleared a small space before the moss-stained facade, a hidden bower where the forest itself formed walls and roof. This became my temple, the sealed door my shrine. There I lay upon the damp earth, surrendering to strange thoughts and stranger dreams. It was on a heavy, breathless night that the first revelation came. Exhaustion must have claimed me, for I awoke with a start and heard voices. I dare not describe their tones, but they were uncanny, shifting from the rough syllables of Puritan settlers to the polished speech of later generations, a chorus of dialects echoing across centuries, murmured in the shadows. And then, fleeting as a dream, I thought I saw a light extinguished within the sepulchre. Whether real or imagined, it changed me forever. I returned home with a strange certainty, and went straight to the attic. There, in a rotting chest, I found a key. The very next day, it slid easily into the lock that had resisted me for so long. The barrier was no longer beyond my reach. It was beneath the fading glow of late afternoon that I first stepped into the vault upon the abandoned slope. A strange enchantment seized me, and my heart surged with a thrill I cannot fully describe. Closing the door behind me, I descended the dripping stone steps by the flicker of a lone candle. Though the air was thick with rot and the flames sputtered in protest, I felt an uncanny familiarity, as if I had always belonged to that charnel gloom. Around me lay marble slabs, each bearing coffins or their remnants. Some were sealed, others had crumbled into heaps of pale dust, leaving only silver handles and nameplates. One plate bore the name of Sir Geoffrey Hyde, who had crossed from Sussex in 1640 and perished soon after. In a shadowed alcove stood a vacant casket, strangely preserved, its inscription stirring both a smile and a shudder. Driven by impulse, I climbed upon the slab, extinguished my candle, and lay down inside the empty box. At dawn, I staggered out, fastening the chains once more. Though only 21 winters had touched my body, I felt aged beyond measure. Villagers who glimpsed me on my return whispered of revelry, astonished by the wildness in one known for solitude. I hid myself from my parents until sleep restored me. From that night onward, the tomb became my sanctuary. Each evening I returned, seeing and hearing things I dare not reveal. My speech was the first to change. Words slipped from my tongue with an archaic cadence as though borrowed from centuries past. Soon a reckless boldness overtook me, and I carried myself with the poise of a worldly man despite my lifelong seclusion. My silence gave way to eloquence, my tongue weaving epigrams with the wit of Augustan poets, my books filled with lines that seemed not my own. I was transformed, and the tomb had claimed me. One morning at breakfast, disaster nearly betrayed me. My tongue, loosened by some strange intoxication of the spirit, burst forth in a drunken cadence, an 18th-century song of revelry that no book had ever recorded. The words spilled out with the mirth of taverns long vanished, verses of ale and laughter, of red noses and ribald kisses, of men collapsing beneath tables yet boasting that it was better than lying beneath the earth. Each stanza rang with the reckless joy of Georgian nights, echoing through my voice as though I had lived them myself. My family stared in horror, for how could a solitary youth raised in sobriety and silence conjure such bawdy wit from centuries past? The accents were not mine, nor the spirit that animated them. Yet I spoke with the ease of a seasoned rake, a man of the world long dead. In that moment, I knew the tomb had begun to seep into me, its voices, its laughter, its forgotten debauchery now alive upon my lips. It was around this time that I grew to dread fire and storms. Once indifferent, I now recoiled in terror whenever thunder rolled or lightning split the sky, retreating to the deepest corners of the house as though the heavens themselves sought my ruin. By day I haunted the ruined cellar of the Hyde mansion, imagining its grandeur before the flames consumed it. Once I startled a villager by leading him to a hidden sub-cellar, long forgotten, yet somehow known to me as if memory itself had guided my steps. But my parents had begun to watch me closely, alarmed by the strange changes in their only son. My secret visits to the tomb, guarded since childhood with religious devotion, were now threatened. I moved through the hollow with caution, weaving paths to evade unseen pursuers. The key to the vault hung always from a cord around my neck, its existence known only to me. Never did I carry away the relics I found within those walls. The tomb itself was enough. Then came the moment I had long feared. One morning, as I fastened the chains upon the portal with trembling hands, I saw him, a watcher, hidden in the thicket, his eyes fixed upon me. Surely the end had come, my sanctuary was discovered, my nocturnal journeys exposed. Yet the man did not confront me. I hurried home, desperate to overhear what he might tell my weary father. Imagine my astonishment when he whispered that I had spent the night outside the tomb, lying in the bower with my gaze fixed upon the chained door. By what miracle had he been deceived? I knew then that some supernatural agency shielded me. Emboldened by this strange protection, I cast aside caution. For a week I walked openly to the vault, tasting the full measure of its nocturnal revels, those charnel joys I dare not describe. And then, without warning, it happened. My secret life was torn from me, and I was carried away to this accursed asylum, condemned to sorrow and monotony.
I should never have gone out that night. The sky was heavy with thunder, and from the swamp below rose a sickly glow, phosphorescent and unholy. The summons was different, no longer the tomb upon the hillside, but the blackened cellar at the crest of the slope, where some daemon beckoned me with invisible hands. As I stepped from the grove into the moonlit plain, I beheld what I had always half expected, the mansion restored. Its walls rose proud and gleaming, every window ablaze with candlelight, as though a century of ruin had been undone in an instant. Carriages rattled up the drive, bearing Boston's finest, while powdered gentlemen and ladies arrived on foot from neighboring estates. I moved among them, yet I knew I was not a guest. I was of the house itself. Within the hall music swelled, laughter rang, and wine flowed without end. Faces I recognized appeared before me, though I should known them better had they been rotted and skeletal. Among that reckless throng I was the most abandoned of all. Blasphemous words poured from my lips, defying God, man, and nature alike. Then thunder split the heavens. The roar silenced the revelry, and terror seized the company. Flames burst forth, devouring the mansion, searing heat, driving the revelers screaming into the night. I alone remained, paralyzed by a fear deeper than any I had known. For another horror gripped me. If I perished in the fire, scattered to ashes by the storm, I might never rest in the tomb of the Hydes. Was not my coffin waiting? Was I not entitled to eternity among the descendants of Sir Geoffrey Hyde? I swore then that I would claim my heritage of death, even if my soul must wander through ages seeking another body to lie on that vacant slab. Jervas Hyde would never be denied his place. As the phantom blaze of the mansion faded, I awoke to terror, screaming, thrashing in the grip of two men, one of them the spy who had shattered me to the tomb. Rain lashed down in torrents, lightning flickering across the horizon. My father stood nearby, sorrow etched into his face, while I cried out my demand to be laid within the tomb of the Hydes. He urged my captors to handle me gently, though his eyes betrayed despair.
In the ruined cellar, a circle of scorched stone marked where the heavens had struck. Villagers gathered with lanterns, prying from the earth a small antique box revealed by the thunderbolt. I ceased my futile struggle and watched as they opened it. Inside lay papers and relics, but my gaze fixed upon one object alone, a porcelain miniature of a young man, his hair curled beneath a bagwig, the initials J.H. inscribed beneath. The face was mine. As I stared, it was as though I looked into a mirror. The next day, I was brought here, to this room with barred windows. My father visits often, insisting that I never crossed the chained portal, swearing the padlock had remained untouched for half a century. He claims the villagers saw me only sleeping outside the tomb, my eyes half open, fixed upon the crevice. He dismisses my knowledge of the dead as nothing more than the product of endless nights spent among ancient books in our library. And yet, I cannot accept his words. Were it not for old Hiram, the simple servant who shares my love of graveyards, I might have surrendered to the belief that I am mad. But I know what I saw, what I heard, what I lived. The tomb is mine, and the blood of the Hydes runs in my veins. Whether the world calls me insane or damned, I will not be denied my heritage of death. Yet Hiram, faithful to the end, has never doubted me. It was he who forced open the chained door a week ago, lantern in hand, and descended into the vault's suffocating darkness. There, upon a slab in the alcove, he discovered an ancient coffin, its plate tarnished, its interior empty. The inscription bore but a single word, Jervas. And now they have promised me that when my time comes, it is in that coffin, in that vault, that I shall be laid to rest. My heritage is sealed, my fate entwined with the Hydes. Whether the world calls me mad or damned, I know the tomb awaits me.
And thus the story ended. If you liked this journey into the worlds of classic literature, do not forget to support us by subscribing so we can tell you more. And hey, if there's a classic tale you'd love to hear told in this suspenseful style, drop its name in the comments below. Your suggestion might be our next chilling adventure.